For those of you that don't know, my mother is an Afro-Latina. She's Puerto Rican. She's actually biracial. Her father is a black Puerto Rican, and her mother is a mixed up native Indian Taíno with a bunch of other stuff and maybe a drop of African. My father is a black Jamaican or an Afro-Jamaican. He's Afro-Caribbean. He has a Caribbean culture and he's of African descent, just like an Afro-Latino, Latin culture of African descent. What is an Afro-Latino or Latina? It's pretty simple. But let's break it down. An Afro-Latino is a person of the Latin or Hispanic culture who happens to be of African descent. Exactly like an African American. That's an American person of African descent. Afro-Latino also means, yes, you're black. You can be a Latino of European descent or Taino descent. I have a video called Why Afro-Latinos Deny Being Black. This video will be in the description for you guys to watch. On this video, I've had a few Puerto Ricans and Dominicans and other nationalities of the Hispanic culture say, but we don't identify with race. We don't see race. We don't even see skin color. We just see nationality and culture. That's an American thing. Racism and colorism is an American thing. So some Hispanics will make you believe that Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic are these loving islands where everyone is just Puerto Rican and Dominican, regardless of complexion or race. Now let me debunk that and give you some hard facts. Colorism is a big problem in the Latin community. Racism is a big problem in the Latin community. Delusion and denial is an even bigger problem in the Latin community. My grandmother, mi abuelita, like I said, was a Native American Taino woman, but she had a lot of European blood in her too. When she brought home my grandfather, her family disowned her. Why? Because although my grandmother and grandfather were both Puerto Rican, both Hispanic, both of the Latin culture, my grandfather, my mom's dad, was black. And that was a big problem for my grandmother's family. Now, he wasn't one of those Latinos that looks mixed race or is light-skinned or doesn't have very thick afro hair. No. He was unquestionably black. If you never heard him speak, you might think he was an African American. In Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic, and pretty much most of the African diaspora within the Latin American countries, they have a saying. Excuse my pronunciation as I suck at Spanish. Mejorar la raza. What does this mean? It means improve the race or make your race better. By this, they mean if you're dark-skinned, black, or not of European descent, then you need to have children with a white Latino or a damn near white one. This is a common phrase across all of Latin America. The history of whitewashing in Latin America is real. So when these deluded fools tell you, oh, we don't see race or color, we're just all Puerto Rican or Dominican, that's a lie. My grandmother had to lose her entire family because she married a black Puerto Rican, a black Latino, a black Hispanic, an Afro-Latino. So yes, colorism, racism, self-hate, and delusion are huge problems in these communities. Some people aren't even aware that Latino or Hispanic are not races and that they are cultures. They're not even aware that there are black Latinos and a lot of them. Why? Because the media in these countries makes a very strict effort to only display Latinas of European descent or with minimal African blood. You know that minimal African blood that gives you the curves, some fuller lips, but it might not give you the hair or the deep dark skin. So you see all over TV these white-skinned or barely mixed Latinas, when the reality is there is a lot of black Hispanics. But they're hidden, shunned, and taught to lighten their skin and whitewash their bloodline by dating interracially. Because even two Hispanics can be in an interracial relationship if one is a white Hispanic and the other is a black Hispanic. I also mentioned delusion. There are a lot of black Hispanics, Afro-Latinos that deny their blackness. They may say, yeah, I got a little African in me, but I'm not black. I'm Hispanic or Latino. Okay. But do you think the non-black Hispanic is blind to your Afro hair, your full lips, and your dark skin? No. Remember, mejorar la raza. Now, this is deeply ingrained in Latin culture from colonialism and slavery. Remember, America wasn't the only place that had slavery. Out of all of the enslaved Africans, 95% went to the Caribbean and Latin America. So very few actually went to the United States. In America, the American slaves picked cotton, while the Caribbean and Latin slaves picked sugarcane and mined gold. The only difference was a boat stop, the product you picked, and the language your master spoke. And if you think for one moment that there are only a handful of black people in Latin America, Cuba has over 1.5 million black people. Venezuela has over 6.6 million. Colombia has over 5 million. Dominican Republic has over 8 million. Brazil has over 80 million black people. 80. Let me put that in perspective. That's almost twice as many as the United States. America has only 45 million black people in comparison. Now Puerto Rico, now that's a whole more complicated story. If you look online to see the amount of white people on the island of Puerto Rico versus the amount of black people, it says that there are 2.8 million white people. It then says that there are 500,000 black people on the island. It also says that there are 150,000 mixed black and white or black and indigenous people on the island, with 19,000 Native American Indians. But these figures are based on self-identification. So that means you can be as black as midnight, but you can check a box that says white, and they will mark you down as being white. So why is this? There is a Puerto Rican law called Regla del Sacar. This law dictates that a person of African ancestry could be considered legally white so long as they can prove that at least one person in the last 4 generations had also been legally white descent. That's a great-great-grandparent that had to be legally white. Not white or pure white, but just legally white. That shows you how important it is to be non-black on the island of Puerto Rico. Therefore, people of African ancestry with known European lineage were classified as whites instead of black, even if they were black. That's the opposite of the one-drop rule in the United States. 1 drop of black blood makes you black, whereas in Puerto Rico, 1 drop of white blood could legally make you white. Recent ancestry and DNA studies on the island maintain that a majority of Puerto Ricans are actually of significant African descent and or ethnically mixed. However, a recent study shows that black and mixed Puerto Ricans do not feel the need to identify with their African ancestry. Puerto Rico underwent a political whitening process while under the United States rule. The term black suddenly began to disappear from the census due to the popular idea that in the United States of America, you could only advance economically and socially if you were to pass for white. So that meant a lot of Puerto Ricans felt, oh, well, I can't identify as black, so I better identify as white. Recent studies state that visual identification of a large number of Puerto Ricans who self-identified as white were in fact not Caucasian. So the question is there really 2.8 million white Puerto Ricans on the island, or just a lot of mixed and black Puerto Ricans that self-identify as white? That, ladies and gentlemen, is where the delusion lies. The Nile isn't just a river in Egypt. I'm glad that Amara La Negra and many more black Hispanics and Latinos of African descent are coming forward and being unapologetically proud. Because people need to realize that we are out there and we refuse to be hidden and shamed. I can't wait for there to be more and more black Latino women on TV. You'll find a few videos in the description box about Afro-Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, and also the correct way to identify race, nationality, culture, and ethnicity. Peace, love, and coconut oil.
Hey man, that's racist. Please remember that from now on, brand new never before seen videos, as well as live streams, will only be available on my website, ikyg.com, via a Patreon subscription. ikyg.com is a black-owned, black-ran platform, 100% free from censorship. It's the only place where we don't have to worry about what we say and expressing ourselves. Make sure you check out the description and the comment section for important links, as well as information in video form that shows you what benefits you get when you support the site and join my Patreon. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, then don't forget to subscribe and be notified every time I upload a video. For exclusive content and perks, check out my Patreon. This is where we have private live streams, group chats, live Q&As, live phone calls, and open topics. This is a safe space where you can interact with other like-minded people, make friends, send each other direct private messages, and so much more without any trolls. And yes, you get to use GIFs and images in the live chats. So what are you waiting for? This is a completely independent website, free from censorship. If you'd like to make a donation towards the site so we can continue to put out the truth without fear of being silenced, then please hit that donation button. It's greatly appreciated. Check out the rest of the site for videos, private and public live streams, find out all the tea, and make sure to utilize the Black Money section of the website. Advertise your business absolutely free to people that look like you, free forever. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram and Twitter at angel_IKYG.